come on in. Hello, hello. Hello, hello, hello. Today, I am going to be talking about the 3 biggest mistakes that make labor harder, longer, and more painful. We're going to talk about what you can do, and hopefully by the end of this live, you'll be able to feel confident in having a very smooth, confident birth. So if you are pregnant and you are wondering about this stuff, you are for sure in the right place. Thank you so much for coming. If this is your very first time catching one of my lives, excuse me, y'all, I'm going to explain everything in just a second. If this is your first time catching one of my lives, my name is Stephanie Poole. I am a certified lactation consultant and doula, and I help pregnant women transition into motherhood by having a confident and smooth birth, which is what we're going to talk about today. I'm so excited to be here. Of course, as you know, today is Black Friday. So it's a big shopping day. Thank you so much for just taking your time, whether you're viewing this live or if you happen to pop in on the replay. Either way, tell me where you're joining me from today. Tell me if you are getting shopping done. Tell me how far along you are in weeks in gestation. Tell me a little bit about yourself. I absolutely love to know who I am talking to. Now, with that being said, today is a little bit different. I wanted to go live to just kind of tackle this topic with you, but at the same time, I'm a mom too, of course, right? And my daughter has the day off. My son has the day off. Of course, it's Black Friday. So we are actually I'm going to be going to the movies. Now, I wanted to get this live in, but of course, the scheduling and everything was a bit tough of getting it all done. So I figured, why not bring you along with me while I finish getting dressed on my way out the door so that we could just chit chat while Hello, please tell me where you are joining me from. Again, if you are pregnant and you want to learn how to have a confident and smooth birth, then you are absolutely in the right place. The reason why this conversation is so important, and I have my little notes off to the side. You guys know I always keep some notes around. But the reason why this conversation is so very important is simply because so many moms go in, especially first-time moms, go into birth not really understanding what to expect. And that's just simply because if you've never given birth before, you don't know what to expect. You know? You don't know until you've done it. And so you kind of need somebody there to really walk you through it. You are looking at her. That is literally what I do. And so I thought it would just be important to talk about that today as I get ready and get dressed. And also, you know, if you have questions, then be sure to leave them in the comments for me, guys. I'm happy to answer them towards the end, and then we can kind of go from there. All right, let's just talk about, first off, because you know me, we only got a few minutes, so I'm gonna just jump right into the content. Let's talk about mistake number 1, and that is trying to breathe through it without knowing how. Breathing is literally going to be your secret weapon in birth. Let me say that again. Breathing is going to be your secret weapon in birth. It will help to signal to your body if you are safe. So here is, and you know me, if you've joined one of my lives before, then you should probably take out your notes app so you can just write a few of these gems down. And then that way you'll have some kind of takeaway from today's live. So our first takeaway is just simply that breathing will be one of your secret weapons, especially if you know how to use it and how to use it right, how to use it appropriately. And here is what I want you to know about breathing. Short, shallow breathing will send the signal that you're panicking. Okay? Short, shallow breathing will send the signal to your body that you are indeed unsafe. You don't want that, right? We have fight or flight reflexes built in. And so whenever we're doing anything, you are sending signals to your body that will either cause you to react in a more panicked way or cause you to be more safe and controlled and relaxed. That is what we're aiming for in labor. And so what you want to take down in your notes, do you guys have your notes out? Give me a yes in the comments. Let me know I'm not going too fast for you. But what you want to do is have short, right? Our short, fast breathing, shallow breathing is no good for labor, okay? You do not want that. It sends a signal to your body that you are in panic mode. Instead, you want slow, deep breaths. Slow, deep breaths. That is what you want for labor, okay? Put that in your notes. The reason why that is important is because you can't fool your body. Once you start breathing a particular way, your body will then respond accordingly. So if you are responding with short, shallow breaths, your body will then tense up. It's a natural reaction that you really won't be able to control, right? It'll be the way that your body responds, okay? But if you practice the deep, long breathing, right? That deep, controlled, long breathing, that is what is going to signal to your body, Mama, I'm safe. It's okay for me to relax. This baby is coming, but I'm not in threat mode. I'm not fighting here. It's okay. And when your body gets that signal, you are allowed to immediately relax. Your system starts to respond accordingly. It starts to relax, okay? So that's number one. Now, if you want to know specifically what breaths to do and the techniques, I teach all of that inside of Bundle to Bundle Blueprint, which is on sale right now. It is 50% off and the link is in the description. Stay to the end and we'll kind of go through everything for you to understand how powerful it is. But the details are inside the course. If nothing else, even if you decide you don't want to buy the course, that's fine. Just remember, deep, long breaths. They send the signal that you are safe. That is what you want in labor, okay? All right, let's move on to mistake number 2. Of course, I'm looking over at my notes here, which is pushing like you're pooping. Now, if you've heard this, please let me know in the comments. That is actually not accurate. It is not, it's not accurate, and I kind of chuckle at it a little bit because it is like you would not believe how much I've heard that in terms of instruction. But let me kind of explain why that is such a mistake. It is a mistake because your pushing has to be very controlled, just like your breathing, right? It has to be something that you are not doing off rhythm. So the power of birth is really to be able to find a rhythm and a flow. And now you might be asking, well, what kind of rhythm or flow am I looking for in birth? You're looking for the signs that your body is giving you. Okay? If you are birthing at home or in a birthing center, your midwife, your doula will be able to help you find that rhythm, right? And you'll know when you are watching for your contractions. But let's say you're in a situation where you're not at home giving birth and you're not at a birthing center, you actually happen to be at a hospital, which I don't know if you guys know or where you're located, but here in the United States, 90% of women give birth in the hospital. So if you're watching this in the United States, you are very likely going to be laboring and giving birth in the hospital. And for those moms, because it is so prevalent, it is important that you don't get caught up in the system of just policy and procedure of the hospital, okay? And let me kind of put a pin in this and tell you why that's important. It's important for you to advocate for yourself during your birth, because right now, and if you were on my other live, you know that, I talked about here in the United States, we recently got a report card that maternal infant health in the United States report card was a D plus. Come on, y'all. We can do better. We can do better. And part of that is the system, but part of it is just simply knowing better and doing better, right? We are not just going to give our bodies, our babies, our birth experience over to a hospital system. We're going to be educated, right? We are going to know as much as we can possibly know so that we can advocate for ourselves and keep ourselves in alignment with what is really meant for, in order for you to have a positive birth experience. That's important. That is important. And so when I say you don't want to just poop like you're you don't want to just push like you're pushing, that is an age-old standard that is just simply not true. You want to wait until your body is telling you to push. Then you're going to ride the wave of what your body is already doing in labor, right? With those contractions. That baby is coming down and you're going to work with that, and then you're going to push, right? So you shouldn't be pushing just because you're directed to push. In other words, you shouldn't be pushing during labor because I told you to push. We're not doing that. That's called purple pushing, because you're just pushing because someone told you to. No, we are going to watch and wait for those contractions, and then we're going to ride the wave of what your body is already doing, and then we're going to push accordingly only until that contraction ends. When it ends, you stop. When it ends, you stop. So pushing like you're pooping is wrong. That is a huge mistake. That's mistake number 2. Now, if you are interested, there are different positions that you can do to really assist in that pushing mode. And if that's something that you want to do and know specifically, then you can get that inside of my course. And I'll go over all of that at the end, okay? But just know that there are different things that you can do to really assist you with your pushing so that it is with ease. It just happens with ease because you are working with your body, okay? All right, now, the third mistake, y'all. Me talking, trying to do makeup and get out of here on time. Oh, this is not my flow, but we're gonna roll with it. All right, So, mistake number 3 is not knowing what's normal. Panicking makes labor hurt. So, let's talk about that for a little bit. Panicking makes labor hurt even more, and that happens because you don't know what's normal, right? You don't know what you don't know. Now, here I'm specifically talking to my first time moms, because if you've never experienced labor before, it's very hard for you to understand how to prep for labor and for birth. It's very, very hard for you to understand because you've never done it before. I know me, when I first was pregnant and, was going through the motions, I was at the mercy of the people around me who had experienced it, because I myself had not, given birth. And at that time, I didn't know what to expect. And information is very different now than it was back then. So there was some information out there, but not as much. Not as much. And here's the kicker. I actually took the class from my doctor's office, from my OB. I took their class and I thought that was enough. Y'all, it is indeed not enough. Not enough. Because theirs was more or less focused on the medical side of giving birth. And by the way, I've said this before in one of my other lives. Your doctors and your nurses, if you are depending on them to be able to tell you everything when you get to the hospital in labor, that is the absolute wrong strategy. And here is the reason why. Because they are not there for, let me not say that they're not there for your comfort, because they are, but it's not their number one priority. Their number one priority, if you're birthing in the hospital, is the health of you and your baby, right? So they are more concerned with the medical side. What is your blood pressure? Are there any pre-existing conditions? What about pain management? How is the anesthesia and the IV? For the baby, is the baby's heart rate dropping with the contractions? Are they in a good position? They're interested in all of the very meticulous information that's needed to document a birth, right? But you have to really advocate for yourself if you want the level of comfort that you are looking for to have a confident birth. That you have to advocate for. Most people don't know that. Most people just assume that the nurses are going to tell you everything. And shout out to nurses and doctors, because they do the absolute best that they can. I've worked with some amazing teams that really go over and beyond to try and make sure that mom and baby are okay. But they have a lot that they are responsible for. And so stopping to teach you every step or how to push or those type of things are not necessarily things that they stop and educate you on and teach you and do all of that. They just are going to tell you what, based on what their experience is. Does that make sense? You cannot rely on them to educate and teach you based on what might be best for you. They're going to do industry standard. It will be generic, and likely it does not come with a lot of instruction. It's just going to be do this, do that. So you have no idea if that's actually good for you, right? The way that you do that, the way that you maximize what's best for you is by learning before you get into labor, having communication before you give birth, right? communication with your providers, communication with your birth support person, whoever that might be. All of that is going to be very important before you go into labor. Why? Why is that important? It's important because when you are in the thick of it, when you are, having the contractions to increase and you can't get any kind of relief, the last thing that you'll want to do is to try and coach somebody on what your preferences are, or try to learn and understand the best way to push. All of that stuff you just don't have the capacity to do when you are in true active labor. Okay? And don't forget, guys, if you're watching and you have questions regarding birth or labor or postpartum, be sure to put them in the comments. I'm happy to answer them for you guys. We only have a few more minutes left because I definitely have to get off of here soon. But just as a recap, let's just kind of go over the 3 mistakes. So my notes here as I jump in. Mistake number 1 is trying to just breathe through it without really knowing how. You don't understand the different breathing techniques that are going to be beneficial for you in birth. That is a huge mistake. That is a huge mistake. Your breathing can literally signal to your body whether you're safe or not. And based on your body's response, it will cause your labor to either feel more relaxed and more in control, or breathing the wrong way could actually make your pain feel more intense and more hard. When you hear people say, I had a hard labor, that's what they mean. Like they felt every single contraction and every intense pain. It's from likely them not knowing how to tell their body, hey, I'm safe. We're okay. Let's slow this down. Let's make this more relaxed. So that's mistake number 1. And then just to review, mistake number 2 is pushing like you're pooping, which is absolutely the wrong advice to give, because it really can make or break how well you're pushing. Actually, it could end up causing you to even tear. If you're pushing wrong, if you're pushing against what your body is trying to do, that is the fastest and easiest way to have a tear. You do not want that. So learning how to push is key. And then mistake number 3 is what we talked about, not knowing what's normal and having panic, which makes labor more painful. And, not knowing what's normal that's everybody's problem who's never given birth before, right? But first off, shout out to you because you showed up today. Shout out to you because you are learning. Shout out to you because you've already decided that's not the route you want to take. So shout out to you for that. And the best thing you can do is to continue to do what you're doing right now, which is to learn all that you can about how to prepare for birth and how to do it well, so that you don't walk in, and I say this on all my lives, and this is something I'll say again, you don't want to allow birth to happen to you. You want it to happen through you. Okay? Let me say that again. You don't want birth to happen to you. You want it to happen through you. That is so important. That is so important. What do I mean by that? Well, specifically speaking, oftentimes moms will feel like birth just happened. They didn't really have a lot to say. For starters, they didn't really know a lot of things, right? Because they're first time moms, so that's not their fault. They just didn't know. And because of that, they had people just telling them what to do. And so they did it, but even well-meaning people can often give the wrong advice if it's not the advice that really is tailor-made for you. And so it is super, super important to know what is going on before it actually happens so that you are not panicking, right? You want to stay in this constant state of relaxed confidence so that you can push with clarity and birth your baby with a smooth delivery. Okay. Now, let me just check here to see. Hello. Oh, wow. Madagascar. I have no idea. Like there's so many women, first off, that really struggle with fertility. That's number one. And I think that's something we need to have a bigger conversation about because, if we don't talk about it, then people don't know that it really is something that a lot of women struggle with. So that's number one. I always tell people who ask questions to simply, reach out to someone. I know it can be a hard thing to ask for help, but it may be worth it if you are able to talk to someone who really specializes in fertility to actually help with that. Yeah, so I wish you guys the best. I am, if that is what I am believing that it will happen for you. Yeah, so stay hopeful. Now, in terms of, if you've gone through these mistakes and you are starting to see yourself, right, in these mistakes, you're starting to say, hey, I don't want that to be me. I would love to be able to, birth confidently. If you are pregnant, if you want to prepare for birth, but you don't exactly know how or what to do, you are in the right place, my friend. You have landed in the right space of the internet because that is specifically what I do. I have a program. It is on sale right now. It is called Bump to Bundle Blueprint, and it is not just a course. It is a birth prep system. It will walk you through step by step to show you exactly how to breathe, like we talked about earlier, so that you are breathing and it is effectively keeping your labor progressing. Everything inside of this system is strategically put there. There is no fluff. It is all there to help you not just have a baby, but to do it with confidence, to be able to know how to push, to know what positions will actually help to open your pelvis and help the baby to come down, making your labor a lot smoother, a lot faster. There's information in there to show you exactly how to advocate for yourself so that you don't feel like you're being rude, but you are getting your point across. Hello, that's super important. A lot of people want to advocate for themselves, but they don't exactly know how to do it without feeling like they're being rude. Well, all of the specific language in there for you to use is laid out. A, B, C, D, and E. I mean, right across the board. There's also tons of information in there for your birth partner as well. So a lot of times they're there and they want to help, but they don't really know what to do or how to be helpful. I got you. It is all inside of my birth prep system, which is Bump to Bundle Blueprint. Now, today is Black Friday. So lucky for you, you have tuned in during a time that it is literally the lowest it will be all year. Okay? So if you tune in today and if you purchase today, you get it for 50% off. 50. It will not, this is it. It won't be any cheaper than that. And so the link is definitely in the description. Y'all, I am so excited for you to get your hands on this. I'm super excited for you to get your hands on this because if this is your first time catching me, this is the stuff that really works. I am a doula. I literally help women give birth. I mean, well, okay? I support them in it. So I am giving you the exact system that helps my clients to have shorter labors, more progressive labors, meaning that every stage of labor is progressing to the next. If you've ever heard women who give these things and they're like, you know, tell you their stories and they're like, my labor lasted for, 30 hours and whatnot. I feel so bad for them because there are things that you can do to help your labor to progress. All of that is inside this system. So you definitely want to get your hands on it. Let's see. I am so glad you bumped into it too, because you cannot just allow birth to happen to you. I want you to take control of your body, of your baby. Oftentimes, giving birth, right? And how we do it is really one of our first acts of love towards the baby. We have, all of the prenatal care that we do to take care of ourselves when we're pregnant, but really investing in yourself like now so that you can have a birth that will help you to have an easier recovery later. That means being more present with your newborn when they're here, not struggling with, tearing because you had a really bad tear from pushing the wrong way, So now instead of enjoying your new baby, now you're nursing these stitches that you got during labor. We don't want that. We're not doing that. We are taking control. We are asserting our preferences and making sure that we are prepared so that when you go into labor, those doctors are not talking over your head and you don't understand anything. No, you've been taught, you've been educated, you've practiced, you have a good idea and a good understanding of the process of labor, the different stages, contractions, not just what they are, but how to deal with them when you get them, right? All of that is what you learn inside of this birth prep system. So if you don't listen, if you are listening to me right now, and then you end up not having the birth that you were meant to have because you didn't buy, I can give you the information, but I can't make you do anything with it. Like, it has to be up to you to make the decision, to make the choice to say, I really want to have a positive birth. I really want to be able to birth well. I don't want to panic and freeze up thinking, tell me this. Have you thought since being pregnant, oh my gosh, what if I can't do this? Like, when it finally hits you that you're pregnant and the baby has to come, right? it has to get here one way or another. And you, my friend, are the one to do that. That's kind of overwhelming. That's an overwhelming thought. I remember having that thought and feeling like, oh my goodness, like, what have I gotten myself into? That is something that is super normal. But what the difference between me and you is that I didn't have a me at the time. I just had to try and figure it out, wing it, as they say. But you don't have to do that.